All right, so since I got the red wine dressing, one employee told me that it probably was about 1,000 calories. So I added this. I don't know the calorie count, but I didn't stack up the soft serve. But it's basically every meal that you get. I think even if you get a drink, it comes with a complimentary soft cone. Well, this is a cone plus a soft serving of ice cream. And you can get chocolate or vanilla, and even swirl. Ooh. So, that's another thing I like. So I delivered for them a long time ago. Well, I delivered for Uber Eats and other places like Postmates and Favor. I go in and get a drink and then get myself a cone. Secretly, I just go in and get a cone. Don't do that. At least you ask. If you ask and they're okay with it, then there's no law against kindness. All right, so we're headed back. Well, we're headed to delivery. I gotta get on the road. Got one of those Batman cars behind me. I don't see how they stand it with all the wind. Looks like Speed Racer. Here they come. They're gonna make a pass. Oh, the triangle. It's a triangle car. Okay. Couldn't tell from this angle. But yeah, you know, what I thought about, this is a theory though, you know, if Grace, aka Werevlog, becomes an actual movie, I was thinking about, like, why not use an iPhone, you know? And then the other characters can choose whatever camera they want to choose for their vlog, you know, because it's about vlogging, and it's about a werewolf too, and they're characters, you know. One's a UFC fighter, one's an ex-rock star that had a tribute band that was kind of like, they did like Kiss songs and stuff like that. And then another one was, you know, once a minister that became a werewolf hunter. And then you have the blacksmith that does weird weaponry and kind of drug culture hacker kind of guy. But they all have their own vlog. Even the flight attendant who has a small role, she has a little vlog going too. So why not make the standard cinematography, or like if I could talk to the director of photography, whoever that may be. A lot of times it is the lead actor, if the actor's on the film. They're involved with the photography. But you would say, well, let's just do an iPhone, an upgraded iPhone. You know, we can tweak it and talk about color code and post-production so that you have the narrative going on, and that would be, you know, it could just be a normal iPhone. And then you have the different vlogs from the different cameras and different other phones that they may use. You know, one may use a Samsung, one may use a Motorola, one may use a Canon camera or something like that, you know, and just mix those in with the film. Since I was inspired to do all this from other vloggers, you know, to me that seems like a project that's worth lifting off and giving a try. And then you've got a werewolf in there somewhere, and we could talk about, I personally would stay away from CGI. Meaning what I would do is have really good costume. So the werewolf is made by hand, and also we use the shadow of the werewolf, so we can cast shadows on the actors, you know, or at least the characters, the actors playing the characters, you know, where you see the shadow of the werewolf. And then at times, you know, at this one time in the barn when John Blacksmith gets cornered, you actually see the werewolf. We have a really good costume. And so it's kind of like laying down some rules. We have no guns on set. We have no CGI. So we have a really good costume. But we do have a flamethrower. Because, you know, the flamethrower can be controlled. You know, that can be... The flamethrower is kind of like the Jaws. It's named Old Sherry. And there's a lot of stuff you can do with the flamethrower, with light and things like that. And, you know, we would have a safety team around the flamethrower. You know, we'd have to hire a really good flamethrower team. You know, we just call it the flamethrower team. You know, you got great films that have flamethrowers, okay? Going all the way back to Tennessee Williams, he had a flamethrower in one of his plays. Black Orpheus or something like that. I don't know the name of it. I'll figure it out later. But it was a play that he wrote. It ended up burning down the theater or whatever. But in the actual movie, part of the barn and part of the actual, I guess you could say, the farm, it gets caught on fire. Very Gone with the Wind. I have not seen Gone with the Wind. It's sad. I've only seen segments of Gone with the Wind. But there's a moment where there's fire, right? So that's something we can play with. And then there's now the werewolf does get hit. It's a silver nitrate. It's not your normal flamethrower. Like even if you go to Aliens, you know, with Sigourney Weaver, they dealt with flamethrower kind of stuff on set. And so we could do research, talk to James Cameron and talk about flamethrowers, you know. There would be a flamethrower meeting, you know. And I think that's a good part of it. But the flamethrower has to look homemade because it's made by John Blacksmith, who I would probably offer that role to Post Malone. I saw another interview with Post Malone, and it was like he was just like kind of like hanging out with his fans. I was like, perfect, absolutely perfect. He'd need no direction at all other than the fact that, you know, try to know the lines. And he could because he's a musician, and his behavior and everything is exactly what I'm looking for, exactly. Because my friend Sean, it's based on a friend of mine, who's kind of this crazy dude. You know, he does like shrooms and all this kind of stuff. It's perfect for Post Malone. It's absolutely perfect. Because I saw the interview, I was like, that's John Blacksmith. And so I started writing in character traits for Post Malone, like putting stuff on the character's face, you know, just like he has. I have to go back and look at his tats. But all that kind of stuff, we just fit right in perfectly. And then, lo and behold, you know, the Gary Oldman thing is like getting Robert Shaw, you know, on Jaws. You know, because I don't think Jaws would have been very good without Robert Shaw. Robert Shaw, I mean, you know, the scratching of the, you know, I don't know if he came up with that, but he might have. You know, the scratching of the chalkboard, you know, you're looking for a shark and all that stuff. I can't really do him, but, you know, Robert Shaw, he was a novelist. I mean, you couldn't get a better casting choice than Robert Shaw for Jaws. This is the exact same boat with Gerald Oldman III and Gary Oldman. I mean, it would just be, like, perfect for some reason. And I think the casting choice, you know, if it does go forward, I should get credit for some of the casting stuff. Anyway, we'll talk about it later. I mean, I wonder how Spielberg sold Jaws, you know? Well, it's about these, one's a shark hunter. The other one's a scientist. You know? It was a marine biologist, probably. Which was, Richard Dreyfuss. I don't know. Is it Dreyfuss? I always called him Richard Dreyfuss. Richard Dreyfuss. I don't know. Dreyfuss. It was. I'll just say Richard Dreyfuss. And you know, and then you got this sheriff. You know, which I wish they would have made him like a regular guy, but which he kind of was. He was in all that jazz. What's that dude's name? Anyway, they were stock characters, you know. The shark hunter, which is like Moby Dick, you know. Well, Moby Dick is not necessarily a shark hunter. I guess he could have been. The whale could have ate sharks, but the guy, his name starts with Ahab. Yeah, Ahab. He was the whale hunter. So they're still stock characters, you know. They still have traits and the things that they do. But, you know, I think mine's even more complex, you know, than what Robert Shaw's character was, because he was a shark hunter, but we didn't know much about his past other than he was in the war, which that monologue was written by John Milius. So they just implanted that monologue into the, you know, into the picture, which, you know, made the film. You know, his thing where the last time I go on the water, or he's like, well, next time I go in the water, I ain't wearing a life jacket. He explains the whole thing. You know, the torpedo hit the side of his boat, and they're swimming around with tiger sharks. And anyway, without that monologue, I don't think the movie. See, there was a lot of components about Jaws. Jaws is kind of like the reason why you talk about Jaws when you're talking about a risky movie, like Grace, aka Werevlog, is because Jaws was supposed to be a failure. It was supposed to fail. You know, it's supposed to be a real cheesy horror film with big time name actors. Well, they were pretty famous. They weren't. Richard Dreyfuss was they were at least movie stars. They weren't the most famous. Roy Scheider was his name. He played the cop or the sheriff or whatever of that Amityville or what, I don't know, Amity Island, and not Amityville, but Amity Island or whatever. You know, it was supposed to fail, you know, and then they're going to have this real cheesy shark kind of floating around in the water somehow and make it look real. But, you know, like, why make a film if there's not going to be a big risk, you know? Why play it safe? I mean, you know, what's Hollywood without new types of movies and new types of directors? Who cares their age, you know? And also looks, too. You know, it kind of bothers me that everybody in a Hollywood film still has to look like they're like a GQ ad. I mean, maybe some people are into it, but that gets boring really quick. I like to see real people, you know, in movies if you can. And that's happened more. It's getting better, you know? You're starting to see people that are, you know, not every woman weighs 120 pounds, and not every guy weighs, you know, 180 and is completely full muscle, you know? There's nothing wrong with that. You know, we want to be a healthy country, but we also want to be a realistic country and a country full of humanity. You know, we want to be a nation that looks, we should be ahead of the Europeans when it comes to great films, but we're really not, you know? Not really. You know, this Barbie stuff, and come on. I mean, maybe, but I'm not going to go out and, like, rent Barbie really quick. And maybe other people will, but vanity is like the worst thing. I mean, everything's vain anyway, right? Even when you try not to be vain, everything is vanity, according to the good book, right? Everything's vain. So it's impossible not to be vain. It's impossible. Everything's vain. But I mean, Jesus love. Everybody likes to have a hamburger every once in a while, you know what I mean? Or going up to the Montgomery. That's what I like about vloggers. I only watch vloggers. I stopped watching a lot of cinema. Because to me, there's nothing more entertaining than watching a normal person struggle. Sorry. I watched that Chrome Vez guys, whatever. Chrome, anyway, Van City Van Life. Chrome Vasquez, I don't know his name. He puts on a real show. Now, he does it with a lot of panache. He uses Adobe. He lays everything down. The music mixes. The sound is great. They're like little movies. He gets no award other than what YouTube gives him. There's no mention of YouTube in the Academy at all. It's completely looked over. It's as if these artists don't even exist, and that's weird. And eventually that's going to change, probably, because what is a motion picture but just moving pictures with sound? Who cares what kind of stock footage it is? If it's Kodak or if it's done with a phone, who cares? What difference does it make? A 45-minute vlog should go up for Best Picture. And another thing I have to say too is, that vlog can be shown at a movie theater in Los Angeles or New York. That's one of the requirements. So, you know, we're competing with everyone. You know, and if a vlog becomes real popular, and there's some of them that have millions of views, why are they getting X-nayed from the Academy? As if that person's not an actor just because the Academy says that person's an actor. That's hogwash. Anyone that picks up a camera today or a phone and starts their own vlog today should be right in the game of possibly winning Best Picture. And not even that, should also be in the game of winning Best Actor. Because they put their whole life into it just as much as they do. So it should be on about the same level. And also another thing too is there better not be any weird things going on where people are trying to block people from not being able to see, you know, other people's great work. All right, first delivery is 5:27 arrival, 4 minutes, 1.6 miles. It's 5:27 arrival. So here's like a little neighborhood library. It's kind of a makeshift library. People can borrow books there, and there's a lot of different names for what it really is, but it's basically like the neighborhood participates in a library, and they can trade or do whatever they want and bring the book back. All right, so this half chihuahua mix, 18-year-old dog comes running out, shaking, smelling the grass, getting a little bit of sunlight. Although there were really no cataracts in the dog's eyes, but he did look a little frail, but he was in pretty good shape for 18 years. The dog was 18 years old, little off-white, little strips of gray and brown. I mean, he was just a shaking. You could smell that pizza, he was getting excited. But that dog must have ate right most of his life, and they must have given him the good dog food, because he's still kicking. 18 years is a long time for a dog, especially a half-breed mixed chihuahua. To the center of the city in the night, waiting on you. To the depths of the ocean where all hope sank, searching for you. That's a hard one. To the depths of the ocean where all hope sank, waiting for you. All right, 5:56 arrival, 4 minutes, 1.1 mile. All right, there's the Crescent. It's a new hotel that just opened up in Fort Worth about a month ago. All right, there's the back side of the Modern Art Museum and the, I guess you call it the Christmas lights, created by Tadao Ando, an architect from Japan who received the Pritzker Award in 1995. He's an autodidactic architect. He taught himself. All right, next delivery, 6:56, 4 minutes, 1.9 miles. Alright, there's a skyline of Fort Worth, and we're going right into Rockwood go-karts and mini golf, which isn't really happening right now. Oh wait, whoa, wait a minute. Mini golf, there are people doing mini golf, probably some college students or something. Mini golf is happening, so I just didn't see any go-karts. So I like the opening of New Dawn Fades by Joy Division. It's just the drums coming in, and then eventually the bass comes in with dun 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 dun, and then guitar comes in. then his voice comes in. It's pretty cool. Yeah, that really cool song by Joy Division on, I think it's on the Best Of. I believe it might be on Unknown Pleasures. I'll have to double check, but anyway, it's called Insight. And he states, you know, I'm not afraid anymore. Actually, he just goes, I'm not afraid anymore. It kind of has a demonic voice. I'm not afraid anymore. That one's called Insight. Where he goes, I remember. It's a little more off-key than that. All right, next delivery's going to Baylor Scott White in Fort Worth, 7:58, 8 minutes. Will arrive at about 3.1 miles.